going on, guys? It is Steven, your semi-comprehensive reviewer here, and in today's video I'm going to be reviewing the Meta Quest 3 mixed reality headset. This is the biggest shift we've seen in the Quest lineup of headsets as we make the switch from only virtual reality to augmented or mixed reality. Now, there are a lot of other headsets doing this right now, most notably the Apple Vision Pro, but the Quest 3 is doing something very similar at a way cheaper price, starting at $500. So we're going to find out in this video if it's worth it at that lower price and whether this could be the Apple Vision Pro killer. But first, I just want to thank all of my subscribers out there. I very much appreciate it, and it means a lot to know that people do enjoy this content. And we are so close to hitting 1,000 subscribers, so if you're not subscribed already, a sub would be much appreciated. Also, let me know if there are any reviews you'd like to see here in the future, and if there's anything you'd change about these reviews, as I'm still figuring it out, so be sure to let me know down below. With that out of the way, though, let's get right into the review. Now, I normally don't talk about the packaging itself for devices I review, but look at how small this box is. I mean, it is insane to think that there is a device capable of creating virtual worlds inside of a box this small. It just goes to show how far VR and AR has come and how much these headsets have slimmed down in the past couple years. Anyways, inside of the box, we have the two controllers, the headset itself, a power brick and cable, as well as some paperwork. Looking at the headset itself, the Quest 3 has a very similar design to the Quest 2, just slimmed down and sleeker. We have the same two-tone white and black design, although the white visor portion is now more rounded and smaller, and then the black part that goes around your eyes is extended a little bit more. The back strap now splits in two for more support, and the side straps go all the way out to the edge here, going around the audio jack port and the USB-C charging port. As far as buttons go, we have our power button on the left side right here under the charging port. Right below that, we have the dial to adjust the width of the lenses. Over here on the left, we have our volume up and volume down button, as well as pins for the charging dock accessory. Lastly, on the front, we have three circles or notches that hold the improved cameras and sensors. This is easily the worst part of this headset's design, in my opinion. It looks like three eyes on the front of the headset. And while you're never going to look good in a VR headset, this definitely doesn't help. Although I will say it does give it its own unique design flair, and these are very necessary for the improved pass-through and tracking. Lastly, we have the new redesigned controllers. These are very similar to the Meta Quest Pro's controllers without the ring around the outside like the Quest 2. But beyond that, the feel of them is very similar. The button layout is basically the same. The only major difference I noticed is that the battery cover doesn't come off as easily. If you have a Quest 2, you'll know that the battery cover can come off pretty easily, even when you're just using the controllers and like moving them around. It can sometimes just fall off. But these new covers are way harder to take off. You actually need to push this button up here to release it. And the strap itself is actually under that piece as well. So everything is really tightly integrated here, and it's very hard to pull it apart accidentally while you're using them. Putting the headset on for the first time and adjusting it is a simple matter of just pulling on these plastic tabs here on the back and this Velcro strap here on the top. And then once you're in the headset, setup is super easy. All you have to do is just connect to your Wi-Fi, download and connect the Oculus app, and the headset pretty much does the rest. Even the play area and boundary is tracked automatically with the improved cameras on the front. We're also in pass-through mode the entire time we're setting up the headset, which really hits home how big of a feature this is. Once it's on your head, the Quest 3 doesn't really feel much lighter than the Quest 2 or other VR headsets, but it does feel a little more comfortable than previous Quests. The new split strap design definitely helps with support and distributing the weight more evenly, but the Quest 3 can still feel a little bit front heavy, which a lot of other VR headsets also feel that way, simply because all of the computing power and battery is in the front of the headset. With that being said, this is still a comfortable headset to wear. The material around the eyes is now softer and more breathable. So while you'll still sweat if you're in the headset for a while or if you're doing rigorous activities, it's more breathable now, so it doesn't stay trapped inside as much. All right, let's talk about what's inside of this headset. We have a newer Snapdragon processor as well as a higher max storage option. The screens are also higher quality with a resolution of 2064 by 2208 pixels per eye. Meta also changed the kinds of lenses that are used in this headset, moving from Fresnel lenses on the Quest 2 to newer pancake lenses on the Quest 3. And I did notice a major difference in the clarity you get, especially when the headset is slightly off. On the Quest 2 and even other VR headsets I've used with the Fresnel lenses, if your eyes are even slightly off from the lenses, the image will be very blurry. But for the new pancake lenses, I could kind of move this headset around, move it up and down. It could be a little off on my face, and I would still get a clear image through the headset. Now this is unfortunately still an LCD display as opposed to an OLED like the Apple Vision Pro or PlayStation VR 2. And while it still looks good, it's higher quality, it definitely doesn't have the same rich colors and deep blacks like an OLED would provide. Now you'd think with newer and better hardware, the Quest 3 would run a lot faster and more reliably. And while it definitely ran faster in some situations, I also ran into a lot of bugs and glitches. There were times when I would wake up the headset from sleep mode and it would be extremely sluggish and stuttery, and the only way to get out of this state was to completely restart the headset. There were also times when I tried to use my controllers, but the headset wanted to use hand tracking, so it was kind of doing both and glitching out. But more often than not, I would try to get hand tracking to work, but the headset would just refuse. Like my controllers were off, it was just my hands in front of the headset moving around, but it just couldn't track for some reason. Which is really strange because this is one of the main features that Meta is pushing for, because eventually they would like you to only use your hands with this headset instead of the controllers. Now when hand tracking did work, it was very reliable. It's a lot more seamless navigating through menus using your hands rather than a controller, which can take some getting used to, but when you know how it works, it does work really well. Also, keyboard typing is still an adventure. You can't use all of your fingers for keyboard typing. You can maybe use your thumb and your index finger. So it's a lot of keyboard pecking without any tactile feedback. It's an adventure using it, let's just say that. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, this headset marks a shift for Meta as well as for a lot of other VR headsets as we make the transition from strictly virtual reality to augmented reality, or as Meta calls it, mixed reality, combining both worlds. And the key to all this is pass-through mode, which allows you to see your surroundings in full color. This is the main advertised headlining feature of this headset and is definitely the most innovative and interesting. Like I mentioned, throughout all of setup, we are in pass-through mode, and once the headset is set up, whenever we put it on, we are automatically in pass-through mode. We're no longer in a virtual lobby somewhere. We're actually sitting in our room with a floating menu in front of us. And it's at this point you realize how amazing of a concept this technology is, while also realizing we're not quite there yet. And it's mainly because of the quality of pass-through on this headset. Now keep in mind, this is a $500 headset, so the fact we're even getting a feature like this on a headset this cheap is pretty impressive. But the best way to describe pass-through is like the opposite of putting on a pair of glasses to make your world clearer. You put on the headset and your world immediately gets lower quality. And you can easily like walk around and do stuff in this headset. Like I was able to do dishes and fold laundry while having like a floating YouTube video in front of me. And I would go as far as to say you could potentially live in this headset for a day if you had a battery pack with you the entire time. But you can't read any small text. For example, like text on a text message is barely readable if you maybe squint your eyes, but it's not enjoyable to read smaller text like that. If you're in a darker room, the feed instantly gets super grainy and even lower quality. And there are certain areas where you look where you can clearly tell the cameras are stitched together. Because if you move an object through that space, it'll get all warped and weird. And there can also at times be a little bit of latency as well. So it's not like real life, but it's impressive nonetheless. But what does this headset actually do with pass-through? Well, we're still in the beginning stages of mixed or augmented reality, so there isn't a whole lot out there to take advantage of this feature, but there are still a few fun apps and games and uses for this headset in pass-through. Some of the most fun I had in this headset was playing a game called Lego Bricktales, which essentially puts a giant virtual Lego set in the middle of your room, and it allows you to build with little blocks and control your minifigure. And as someone who grew up building Legos on a regular basis, this game took me right back to my childhood and was amazing. Now the downside is, since pass-through and the overall quality of the headset isn't one-to-one with real life, it can sometimes be hard to tell where you're supposed to place bricks or where the bricks meet and how to take them apart. But the concept is so good, it carries the game. And if you want something that really showcases how good pass-through can be and how you can just blend worlds together, this is it. I also played an augmented reality piano teaching game, which is kind of like Guitar Hero, but in real life. I couldn't get my keyboard connected, so it didn't give me any scores or anything, but the actual tracking of the keys was spot on, and it was really fun playing this. I felt like I actually got better at playing piano as I played more. Now, will I be as good after I take the headset off? Probably not. I was mainly getting good at matching the notes to where they were on the keyboard, not necessarily memorizing key positions or music or anything like that. So as far as a teaching tool, I'm not really sure if this is going to be that good, but it's fun to play and it's fun to hear yourself play music really well. Honestly, one of the most used apps for me in pass-through was the web browser, just because I could have a YouTube video open while I did chores. Like I could fold my laundry while watching a YouTube podcast, or like have a video playing right above the sink while I did dishes. That was honestly the most useful thing I did in pass-through. Beyond that, though, there wasn't really much on the store that stood out to me. Like I said, we are still in the beginning stages of mixed reality, so developers haven't really had a long time to experiment and use this new format. There are a few like workout apps and more educational apps, and there are a few augmented reality games, but nothing that would make you go out of your way to buy this headset for. This headset's bread and butter is still purely virtual reality games, which of course I also played a lot of. I played my two favorites, Superhot and Beat Saber, and these looked amazing on the new hardware on the Quest 3. Now, pretty much all games from the Quest 2 are going to be compatible with the Quest 3, although not all of them will have the scaled up resolution of the new displays. But for all of your Quest 2 games you may have still, they're going to work great on this headset. They're going to look even sharper. And there are a few new games being released that are supposedly exclusives to the Quest 3, although there are not a lot of them out there. Like, there's no standout exclusive game just for the Quest 3 that takes advantage of the better processing power or newer hardware. It's basically just a bunch of Quest 2 games that look amazing on the Quest 3 now. I mean, the Quest 2 games play a lot better on this headset. Like, I didn't experience as much stuttering or lag on the Quest 3 as I would have on the Quest 2. But there really isn't any game that is just for the Quest 3 that takes advantage of the newer hardware, besides the games that implement pass-through mode as well. Lastly, let's talk about battery life. The headset itself has a quoted battery life of 2 hours, which can be lower if you're in mixed reality most of the time. Meta also doesn't really give us a firm quote time for how long the headset lasts in standby mode, but in my experience, if you just take the headset off and you don't move it, it'll maybe last you about a day. And if you shut it down all the way, it'll maybe last you a week. That being said, 2 hours is not a lot of playtime for this headset. It was fine for the Quest 2 because it was only virtual reality, and honestly, after about an hour of virtual reality, I need a break anyway. But now that this has mixed reality and you're expected to use this while doing other stuff, an hour and a half, 2 hours is not a lot of time. Like, sure, I can do the dishes and fold laundry in about 2 hours, but after that, the headset's pretty much dead. And then to charge it up again, you have to use a very specific kind of charger. This headset does not have fast charging. I tried it with my fast charger. It did not accept charge at all. So you have to use the slower wattage brick that is included in the box or something similar to it to actually power up the headset. So it takes about an hour to actually charge the headset back up again, which I mean is kind of good. Like, you're never guaranteed to be in this headset for more than 2 or 3 hours unless you have a battery pack strapped to you. So in a way, it feels like Meta is actually encouraging us to go outside and do other stuff besides use their headset. But yeah, 2 hours is barely enough to watch an entire movie in this headset, so you can basically just do one activity, either game, watch a video, or do mixed reality, and you can't do anything else after that. Lastly, the controller battery life was pretty bad, actually. I only had the headset for about 2 or 3 weeks, and one of the controller batteries already died, even though I didn't really move it around that much to wake it or push any buttons. That was using the included batteries that came with the headset. Once I put mine in, they lasted a lot longer. So I'm not sure if Meta is just giving out cheap batteries or if they need to optimize how the controllers are using battery. Either way, be expected to put more AA's in there after a couple weeks. All right, should you get the Meta Quest 3 mixed reality headset? Maybe. If you've never had a VR or mixed reality headset, then get it. It's probably the best mixed reality headset at this price point, and honestly, even though it's not near the quality of the Apple Vision Pro because it is so cheap, it's going to be a really big competitor for it. Now, if you only want the virtual reality experience, maybe you don't think mixed reality is ready yet, then the Quest 2 is still going to be a very good option for you. The Quest 2 is now retailing for $250, and as far as the overall virtual reality experience, it's very similar to the Quest 3. Maybe slightly lower quality or slightly lower performance, but other than that, it's about the same as far as the virtual reality goes. So while this is the way of the future, I still don't think we're ready yet for full mixed reality. That being said, the Quest 3 is still an amazing product and a glimpse into the future, and I hope Meta continues to support it with more augmented and mixed reality games and experiences. That about does it for this review. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like down below. If you really enjoy my content, be sure to subscribe. And let me know if you have a Meta Quest 3, if you enjoy it just as much as I did, or if you think maybe it needs some improving. And let me know if you're now interested in getting a Quest 3 after this review. Beyond that, though, I've been Steven, your semi-comprehensive